I make over six figures a year in profit from my print on demand brands. And in every single one of those brands, there's a 6-step process that we follow that allows us to not just generate a lot of profit, but ultimately build a brand that can be exited from. For example, History Tees was a history themed t-shirt brand that we just recently sold to Open Store a couple of months ago. And then Yoga Stay was a yoga themed apparel brand that we also sold to Open Store about 2 years ago. So this framework doesn't include any, hacks or shortcuts, but it is based on root fundamentals that have worked for years and years. And not just that, they are currently working today. And step one is viewing the business that you're building as not a print on demand shop, but rather a brand. And the slight nuance to this is that when we were just building a shop that just sells products, yes, you can make some positive cash flow and make some profit, but the real money is in building a brand that people identify with and will come back and buy from you again and again. Like on our current brand, for example, we make well over $150,000 per year just from the email list alone. And now that's top line revenue, but our costs on that are about 45%. So about 55% of that, called 50, is net profit. So we make about 75 grand profit per year just off of the email list alone. And that number is continuing to increase more and more every month. So viewing the business that you're building as a brand and not a print on demand shop starts with just thinking of the end customer and giving them the best experience possible. This was a mistake that I made a lot early on. I only cared about just optimizing for the front end sale, get my ROAS as high as possible. And while that works in the short term, it's not a long-term viable option because lifetime value, building relationships with your customers, is where the real money lies. So in History Tees, for example, we had policies that heavily favored the customers, and that worked in our favor in a big way. And it's simple stuff like 100% money back guarantee, no questions asked, which one, it just feels good to run business that way. But two, it increases, the goodwill and the word of mouth for your company. That's building towards a brand rather than just, a drop shipping store that only cares about profit, focusing on building a brand first. Next, all the messaging and emails that we did were custom tailored towards people who love history. Same thing on Yoga Stay. We made all of the emails and messages to our customers written in the voice of a yogi, our customer avatar. And it's those little things that may not seem like a massive deal, but when you do it consistently and consistently deliver extra value to your customers and delight them, it really compounds in your favor over time. So once we've recognized the importance of building a brand rather than just a product store, the second step is choosing a niche. And this is something that a lot of people get hung up on, but we want to be choosing a niche that is super popular and has extreme scalability, meaning there are a ton of people in it. And the easiest way that I choose niches is to write down a list of things that I'm interested in. Yoga, history, which history was mostly my dad's interest, but write down things you're interested in, like at least 10 of them. And if you're the kind of person who's like, I don't have any interests, I'm boring, yes, you do. Just write down 10 things that you do in your day-to-day life. Like, do you like to drink coffee? Do you like to go to walk? Do you like to get outdoors? Do you like planning trips, travel? All of those things are interests. And the reason that's so important is that we want to build a brand around something that, number one, we are the customer, we are in that niche. And then number two, it's something that you genuinely enjoy, because building a brand is a longer term. You want to be looking 2, 3, 4 years down the road. Even if you end up selling before then, it's always good to have that end vision in mind of where the brand can go. So you write your list of interests, and then next you run it through something called the bumper sticker test or the tattoo test, which is a really simple way of evaluating, do people have a strong enough interest in this thing that they would put it on the back of their car? And because if the answer is yes to that, then there's probably a good chance that they would put it on their chest or, buy a hoodie or buy a hat. But if we haven't seen any of those things, then it might not be as good of an option. So you start off with at least 10, narrow it down to 2 to 3. And then next we want to go and do market research on all of the different marketplaces where people are currently selling. And ideally, what we want to see is a lot of demand and a lot of competition, because competition is good because that means that there is a viable market there and people that are successfully selling to this audience. Third is our product selection. So choosing which product we want to go after. I have sold a lot of different products. T-shirts are my favorite for a number of reasons. The main things you want to look for are profit margins. So what's the price that is being charged in the market generally? And then what is the price that you can get consistently and at scale? So T-shirts, for example, we know that the market generally tolerates $20 to $30 price point, and we can get it for $8 to $12. Putting those two numbers together, that gives us around 30 to 35% cost of goods, 60 to 70% profit margin. Second thing is how big the market is for the product that we're selling. So T-shirts, everybody has dozens of them and they're very giftable, very easy to ship. So there's a lot of different ways you can go, but the biggest thing is, especially if you're just starting out, consider the upfront capital or inventory requirements. That's why I've sold 3PL products like yoga mats and equipment and like socks, and like the supply chain is honestly a big headache. So going with print on demand, where you don't have to worry about any of that, it just allows you to focus on building your brand, building really good designs that people love. That's why I recommend choosing a product type that falls under the print on demand category. And so me personally, I start off with t-shirts, and then once I know that I have a good collection of designs that people like, I then propagate them across all the different product types. So hoodies, crew necks, tank tops, long sleeves, every different product type. And that just boosts our sales, because designs that do well on t-shirts generally do pretty well across other apparel types. And again, like I said at the beginning, this is the same exact playbook that I did on every single brand, 8 different brands. We've grown to 7 figures with leaving out the mistakes. Like on the yoga brand, for example, at the time it seemed like a great idea, but it genuinely was a big mistake to go from just print on demand products to adding in yoga mats and all the supply chain stuff. Like that was just young, dumb Chris thinking it would be awesome to build a yoga brand, when in reality I was just optimizing for what would look good to people and not what would actually impact the bottom line. Don't be like me. Step 4 is design creation. And so when we created History Tees, our initial target was coming up with at least 75 to 100 different designs that were all on t-shirts, no different product types. We were just trying to, 1, validate the market, and 2, see what kind of designs people were interested in. So the basis for this was going out and seeing what are like the styles that people who are in the history niche, what were they interested in? There wasn't a whole lot to pick from. There was clearly demand, but there wasn't a lot of like, I don't know, just history specific brands, at least at the time. There are a lot more now, but the things that we noticed was honestly very similar to other niches, like simple text-based designs that are monocolor, but like very minimalistic in a way, and have some humor mixed into it, and like historical references make sense. From that, we came up with 75 to 100 different designs. And the reason we don't want to do 20 or 30 is for 2 reasons. 1, you get a lot better with making designs as you get up to like the 70, 80, 90. You hit diminishing returns, like your 500th design won't be that much better than your 510th, but from 0 to 100, you're still pretty good and like improving every time. And print on demand is a design-based business. Like that's the fuel in the business that makes it go. You're always going to be creating more and more designs. But we wanted designs that were across a wide array. Like for example, one idea we had for our designs was just pictures of historical figures. Then we had another idea that was like blueprint art of historical objects and monuments and that sort of thing. And a mistake that I see a lot of people make early on is they'll just come up with one concept and then they'll make 75 to 100 designs of just that. And it's okay. 1, it's great that you even got started and you made designs, but it's a much better use of your time to do 5 to 10 of the blueprint art, 5 to 10 of the historical figures, and just do like at least 7 to 8 different concepts or like verticals to give yourself a wider chance of finding something that works. So you make your 75 to 100 designs, upload it onto your site. You can either do Etsy or merch by Amazon. Honestly, I use Shopify every time because I like building an actual brand and an actual asset where we have the email list and all these things that compound in our favor, and there's no risk of us just getting kicked off. Literally the only way you can get kicked off of Shopify is if you're doing something like illegal. And even if you do get kicked off, you still have your email list. You still have like your entire business, just you have to rebuild the website. It's like as if you were to get kicked off of Etsy, if you could just go over here, and it would be annoying, but you could just manually rebuild your Etsy store and then you're right back to where you are. That's what Shopify is. It's like a 0.1% chance of getting kicked off as long as you're not like breaking any laws, basically. And once we have those designs, this is the most important step of all, and that is the testing phase. And the reason that this is the most important step is that up until this point, we are building designs, making designs just off of intuition, market research, combination of a number of things. We're building a real business. We're not just trying to make an art project for ourselves. At least I'm not. If you're just trying to make for yourself, awesome. But just keep in mind, you have an art project. You don't have a business until you go out to the market and get market feedback, because the real business that we're in is identifying what the market is interested in and, slight iterations on that. Identify the market need, and then where we are, what we currently have, and then what we need to do in order to bridge that gap. And the way to identify where that gap is with testing. So we use super low budget Facebook testing ads, and we're looking for a couple of key metrics to see which designs people like the best. So our ads very quickly look like very simple ad copy. It says like history t-shirt collection with a link to shop now, some kind of offer, discount, and then it's a flat lay basic mock-up. Literally, if you go to History Tees, that mock-up picture that you see there, that was our top ad that just ran for forever. Like Lincoln 5-star review, flat lay, ran great. And we compare all of these ads side by side, and then we spend about $100, $150 to see which of those designs were the best. So when we did that on History Tees, for example, we saw that about 80% plus of our designs did nothing. Like nobody liked them. It was getting like $1, $2, $3 cost per clicks, which is really expensive. But then there was one that came out of the blue right when we needed it the most. And that was the Lincoln 5-star. And this one was getting 20 to 30 cent clicks. And from that, the rest is history. No pun intended. Wow. So we saw that, okay, nobody liked the blueprint art. They didn't like just the pictures of historical figures. What they did like was jokes about well-known historical events, like what happened to Lincoln at Ford's Theater. So then we took that, and with rocket science here, we were like, all right, what other big historical events could we make, lighthearted jokes out of? That's where then Custer's Last Stand, Custer, Mediocrities, meh. Then the one about the president, he caught pneumonia during his inaugural address, a quote, has anybody seen my coat? That kind of thing. It was just seeing what the market wanted and then making more of that. And the reason that that's so important is that until we brought in the market to give us feedback, I personally really liked the blueprint art and like just the historical figures. I thought they looked cool. And I was like, the Lincoln thing, it's kind of on the nose, might not be like the classiest shirt, but people loved it. So then we were like, all right, doesn't matter what I want. Literally does not matter at all. Honestly, whenever I like something, it's normally the opposite. So we take that market feedback and then we make a lot more like those designs. And that's how you start to build out the collection and just continually adapting the collection. And so what I say to everybody is if you're launching your ads for the first time, just view it as testing and a learning phase. You're learning for the sake of your collection, like which design should you be making more of, but you're also learning for yourself. And this is kind of an aside, but if you've never run ads before, give yourself like some breathing room. Like you don't have to just launch and then just start scaling. Like it's okay. Run the ads for a Thursday to a Sunday, $25 a day budget, spend like $100, then pause them and plan to pause them. And then look at your ads and see which ones got the cheapest clicks. And if this is going over anybody's head, there's a 21-hour course that goes step by step through this entire process. Yep, pause it. And it pains me when I see people, they're like, all right, I've been running my ads for 3.5 weeks. Spent $1,200 and like I have zero sales. What do I do? Then I look at their cost per click and they're at like $3.50. And I have to tell them like, honestly, you should have cut this like 3 weeks ago. And then just like watching them saying it sucks. So please just, especially in the beginning, you don't know what you're doing and that's okay. You're learning. So just run it for a couple of days, pause it and learn. One, for yourself, learn the ins and outs of running the ads. And two, learning what designs people like, and then just make more of those designs. And that brings us to the last step of the process, which is scaling. And scaling, to put it simply, is increasing the output at a similar rate of reinvestment. So like if we're putting in $1, getting $3 out, how do we increase that from $1 to $1 million in, $3 million out? And that's basically what we ended up doing. History Tees now has done millions in sales because of that exact process that we just went through. And the scalability piece is honestly much easier to me than finding product market fit and seeing if, you can even get to something that people want. But once you get to the point of doing roughly 10 grand in sales, going from 10K a month to 100K a month, again, to me, in my opinion, is much easier than going from 0 to 10. Because 10 to 100, it's just scaling, which is mostly turning the knobs, increasing your budgets every 2 to 3 days by 15 to 20%, not on Mondays and Tuesdays, but outside of there, adding on your emails to boost your lifetime value of your customers, which that's just to sit down, bang out the email flows, and then, set it and forget it. There's no like ongoing maintenance mostly. And then it's scaling out the product catalog. And a big mistake that I made early on was anytime I would have some success and, sales would start increasing, I would go, great, I'm just going to focus on the ads now and just scaling the crap out of this. And it would work for a time, but like I said earlier, this is a design-based business. Like our product that we have to always be improving, like SaaS, you always have to be adding new features, supplements, you always have to be improving your ingredients, listening to, people that are taking your supplements. What do they want more of? What's the feedback been? We have to do the same thing with our product catalog. And our product, our singular product, is a collection of designs. So we always have to be improving that to stay ahead of market trends, stay ahead of the competition, and be over delivering to our customers and really wowing them with everything that's coming out and getting them excited for what we're releasing. That's where building a brand really comes from. And our best performing emails of all time on History Tees were always the simplest. They were the emails that said, new collection is now available. Just new designs are now live on the site. People absolutely love that. And that just comes down to continuing to launch more stuff. And a bonus step that is always true at any stage in this process to building a successful, profitable print-on-demand or e-commerce brand is knowing that it's a process and it is not going to be a straight and steady climb to the top. And that is completely okay. It is going to look like this There's going to be a lot of ups and downs, and sometimes where it feels like you're retracing your steps. The most important thing to keep in mind for me is that, every day we're improving. And on the hard days where things feel really tough, that those are the days that are the reason that not everybody is doing this. Those are the days where it's much easier to turn back and just go back to what we were doing, go back to our comfort zone. But even if you haven't had your first sale or your 100th sale, or like even made your first product, just progressing down that path, just 1% better every day, not just for the brand's sake, but for your own sake, it's worthwhile, in my opinion. And for anybody who's watching this, who's like, oh, it's so easy for you to say, like, you've done this for years. Yeah, it is easier for me to say because I've gotten the bruises and like I've made the mistakes. That's why I make content like this to hopefully, help out. And I'm not saying in any way that this is an easy process. Like I just laid it out in a couple of steps. Like it is a simple process, but it is not an easy process, to be clear. Like I'm not saying just follow these 6 steps and you're going to make hundreds of thousands of profit. What I'm saying is this is the general roadmap. Like Amazon, you could distill down to like 5 or 6 steps that Bezos did, but it's far from simple. Obviously, it's worthwhile. It can be really fun and rewarding at times, and it can be extremely profitable. You're going to learn a ton doing it. Yeah, if you want to learn more about this 21-hour course, completely free. It's over on YouTube. Hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.